Hi everybody, welcome to Cooking with Gina. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Gina Virginia Casella and I'm transforming into the vegan lifestyle. This headband I'm wearing, is it leather, is it pleather? I don't know. Those are things that I'm noticing about myself as I make this transition. How about you? Can you relate? And if you're an experienced vegan, please kindly comment in the comments to help me so that I can make the shifts and changes that I'd like to see in my life. And what am I cooking today? Well, I don't know actually. I love rice. I really love rice, and I'm craving two kinds of rice. I'm craving rice with soya sauce, pan fried, and then I'm also craving rice that has like a vinaigrette taste to it. And I'm also craving um, like some Thai cuisine, like some rice with some cashews and pineapple. So I think I need to go to a buffet or something like that that has different kinds of rice. And so I'm going to do something with rice today. And I'm going to have to look at my lentils and snap pea situations to find balance with this vegan cuisine. I almost forgot to mention too, I finally picked myself up an apron, and I just feel a little bit more like me wearing it. It's a waterproof apron. I've never had a waterproof one before, and I didn't realize that when I bought it. It was actually the only one at the store. And whatever, I'm just happy to have it. Because like I was saying in other videos, it's like a safety reminder for me that something's going on in the kitchen, and also any loose clothes that I'm wearing, it just helps to keep me safe from my clothes catching on fire and whatnot. I also wanted to share with you, full disclosure, I love to spend time in the kitchen, and I'm used to living alone. And so I typically spend a lot of time in the summer wearing my bikini and my apron. And then in the winter, fall, winter, it's like, what? Pants? What the hell are pants? And it's like a hard transition to make. And so I'm wearing pants again. The weather's getting a bit cooler. And one thing that I really love about working in the kitchen, I don't know about you, but when I went to university initially, I moved out when I was 19. I was always cold. My apartment was always cold. The bathroom was always cold. And I found just, you know what, finding the simple joys, like spending time in the kitchen, even though it was washing dishes, the dishwater was nice and warm. And if I was cooking, that meant the oven was on. And I started wearing indoor shoes because I realized walking around in my slippers just wasn't enough. And I even, throughout my life, I bought like those really big slippers. They're like, each slipper is the size of a teddy bear, basically. But the bottoms typically aren't very warm. And so I've done that now for, I don't know, I'm 43 years old. So it's been, more than 2 decades that I've been wearing aprons and indoor shoes. Um, and I designate my indoor shoes for indoors. I don't wear them out. And I'm wondering if you can relate. Love to hear about it in the comments. Oh, and also, I found some rice. My favorite rice is basmati rice. I just love it. There's not enough though. I also have some leftover just long grain white rice. And I also found some brown wild rice. So I'm going to mix all three of them together in a rice cooker. And I just wanted to note that, sometimes when you're making rice or pasta, it's like you have not enough to keep, but if you cook it, then it's like too much leftovers. So I like to keep little handfuls of rice and pasta for these exact reasons when I'm just being creative in the kitchen, or if I'm making a soup and I just want to toss in a random handful of rice or barley. So I'm wondering if you can relate. Love to hear about it in the comments. All right, so I'm going to bring you closer. And if you're wondering what I'm drinking, I'm just finishing off the last of the tea water that I made. It was a tea bag of nettle, and I forget what else it was. I can check quickly here. What am I drinking? Horsetail. So I had 2 bags of horsetail and 1 bag of stinging nettle, and it's good. I really like it. The nettle can be a bit intense, so it's nice to enjoy the 1 tea bag ratio with the 2 tea bags of horsetail. And also, I really enjoy having 3 tea bags of nettle inside my water jug. It kind of reminds me of a seaweed taste. I really enjoy it, but it's one of those things I can only have a little bit of here and there, and then I get sick of it. So I'm wondering if you can relate. So how much rice am I going to add? I don't know. I'm going to start with my basmati rice. I'm going to pour the whole bag in here. And it's pretty much half full. So I think I'm going to save this white rice for like a soup or something like that. And I'm going to open up this bag of wild rice. Ooh. And mix it up in here. I really like wild rice. It's really beautiful to look at. And I'm going to give it a rinse. I intentionally want there to be leftovers. And if you're familiar with cooking rice, it does absorb the water. So you never want to fill this right up with rice. So anyways, I'm going to add just a little bit more. And in the past, I've been creative, adding things like chicken stock to be creative instead of water. I have some vegetable stock in the fridge, but I don't want to use that. I just want to rinse this with water, and then I'll show you when I'm done. So how much rice am I making? I don't know this much. So I gave it a rinse-a-roo. I added more water to it. It's probably up to here with rice. And then I filled it up to here with water. And so I've lived and learned, and I noticed when it comes to brown rice, wild rice, it requires more water than just regular white rice or basmati rice. I also really enjoy jasmine rice. I didn't realize there was all these different rices until I taught English in South Korea. That was back in 2006. And I also never heard of a rice cooker until I taught English in South Korea. And it's like, what the heck was my family doing before that? And you know what? Like, our rice would always kind of be soggy. And my dad was really good about pan frying it, and that kind of helped out. But I wasn't really a rice fan. And that was why, because it wasn't cooked properly. And so anyways, there's different methods you can use, like put it over the stove, put it with a lid. But when I was in university, I just seemed to I just couldn't figure out that magic. And so I was relying on Uncle Ben's instant rice, and I would often have frozen veggies and chicken, and I would just change up the frozen veggies, and I really thrived on that. It was an easy meal to make, or I would have a lot of mashed potatoes. So anyways, I'm wondering if you can relate back to when you were a young adult, and if you're a young adult now, or maybe you're a wise and well adult listening to this, I'm wondering, how has your cooking and ways of knowing in the kitchen, how have they shifted? How are you managing with your groceries? And I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So if you've never used a rice cooker, it's super simple. You just do like I did. Put the rice in here, put the lid on, and you plug it in, and you just push the button down, and when it's ready, it goes up. And something you want to be mindful of is when it's done cooking, I unplug it right away and actually remove this. Otherwise, this element is hot and it keeps cooking it, and the rice will stick to the bottom. Some people, they like doing that, because what they end up doing is they'll eat the rice for what it is, and then whatever's left over there, then they'll add vegetable broth to it or whatever and make a soup. And I just love these ways of knowing and sharing information. Once the rice is finished cooking, I'll add butter to it, and I'll show you that when I'm done. So I'm just looking at some leftovers and working with things. I love corn, so I'm going to make a side of corn just on its own. I may or may not mix it in with a stir fry. I'm not sure. I'm going to chop up some green onion, mix it in there as well. I was going to have a tomato sandwich, but it didn't happen. I still have 2 whole tomatoes in the fridge. And I'm going to chop this up as well and add it to my stir fry. And yesterday I made this amazing relish, if you will, for my lentil burgers. And I'm gonna blob that. I'm not gonna mix it in with the rice, but I'm gonna blob it on when it's finished. I'll just put it there for now. And I'm just loving my granola bar, but I'm starting to get tired of it now. I'm a bit of a grazer. I like a bit of this, a bit of that. So I have a bad habit of having like, 50 different bags of chips and cracker boxes on the go. And I have to be careful so that they don't end up going stale on me. So I'm going to use this in my rice as well. All that work I did to press it so it could have a bar shape. Oh, well, I'm going to be breaking it up. And that's all part of the joy of cooking, because I'm going to be frying up some corn, or boiling corn, I should say. I was going to go for the yellow lentils, but I thought, I'll go for green just to change up the flavor. The color. And I'm wondering if you can relate. I'm wondering too if you get sick of food fast. And I'm just simultaneously thinking of all kinds of things now. Like I remember, charcuterie boards. I never heard of that word before. And I remember seeing it on restaurant menus and being like, chichkukaru, like, I don't know what is this, charcuterie boards. And people would try and explain it to me, and it just sounded like very simple, like a snack. And I thought it wasn't registering. And then one day I was wine tasting, and we ordered a charcuterie board, and it was basically a mixture of like grapes, fruits and vegetables, celery, raisins, fancy crackers, fancy cheeses, and it cost a lot of money. But anyways, I thought, really? Like, this is being highlighted at a restaurant? Because for what it's worth, when I was a student, especially, and I didn't have any money, taking, like, because like I said, I was a grazer, right? So I'd have all these chip bags and cracker bags on the go. I would have a charcuterie board, and I remember thinking like, oh, like, like there's something wrong with this because it's just a bit of this, a bit of that. But it's just interesting how times change. And when I was talking about South Korea earlier, I guess it jogged my memory, because even right now in 2024, their cuisine is very much like a post-war cuisine. They really appreciate the basics, and they eat so many vegetables and leafy greens that I don't even know the name of. And Asia makes like the best soup, right? Because of that, just a strong appreciation for food and things like kimchi. And it all goes back to the basics. All of our cooking, it's just turning back to the basics. And I remember watching the Food Network one time, and I don't remember the name of the chef. It was a French chef, and he's really popular. So if you know who I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. He's really popular. And something that he struggled with was he would make these amazing, phenomenal dishes, and something interesting was happening. People weren't buying it. And then he literally started taking those dishes and putting it in a wrap. And he would put tinfoil around the wrap and cellophane and whatnot, just to make it appealing for the younger generation. Because it was like, with our manufactured lives, people don't even know how food looks anymore. They don't even know what real food tastes like. And so this French chef was making the connection that the new clientele, they didn't understand his cuisine because they didn't recognize what food looked like or what it tasted like. And so he basically, just as an experiment, did like what I said, and people started buying his food again, and he was like all rediscovered and stuff. But that's what the show was about. He was saying this is the same food, it just looks like takeout. And I thought that was really interesting, and I'd love to hear if you can connect about that in the comments. So initially I took this out because I was going to roast some cashews, but you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore, because I'm now using my leftover granola bar here. And that's one of the things about cooking. Do it, don't do it. You can change your mind. When you're baking, I do enjoy baking for what it's worth, but when you're baking, you can substitute, raisins for craisins, for example, but you can't always substitute things like the flour, the ratio. And I'm wondering, with vegan cuisine, what are folks using out there in lieu of eggs? I know banana is a big one, but in my experience, I haven't really had success with the banana. And I'm wondering, like, what are the tips and tricks? Love to hear about it in the comments. So before I start chopping up my green pepper and my tomato, I want to try and do things in a certain order, just like when you're doing laundry. You want anything that needs to go in the dryer, you want to wash those things first and get them in the dryer, and then the next load you can hang it, that kind of planning. So I'm always cooking for 3 or 4. I like leftovers, but I don't want too many. I'm going to cook this much. And there's not really a lot left. I could just add it all, but like I was saying earlier, I intentionally like keeping just a little bit because it's handy to have for those days where you make a soup and you just add a handful of this, a handful of that. So I'm going to rinse this and add some water. So I don't know about you, but I find with these, they're not lentils, they're green snap peas. I find they need a lot of water, a lot more than rice. Maybe it's the brand I'm using. I'm not getting endorsed by these companies. It would be nice, but green split peas by NewPak. And maybe there's a strategy where you let these soak overnight or something. I know some people like to soak rice overnight, but or not overnight, but like for a few hours at least. But I find I like my rice on the firmer side. Same with my pasta noodles. And so anyways, I'm going to be cooking this away and I'm going to get chopping. So I'm still kind of changing my mind as I'm going here about what I'm doing. And even though I have my granola, that's going to be for 1 rice. I'm going to divide my rice up into 2 and have 2 different kinds. I'm going to put some poppy seed in the other rice. How much poppy seed? I don't know. This much. I like a lot of poppy seed, and it really doesn't need to bake for long. So my split peas, they came to a full boil. I reduced it to 3. Still getting used to this stove. If you cover the lentils, I keep saying lentils, split peas. I find that it gets too hot in there and it overflows. Got any tips for me? I'm wondering if you just use a bigger pot. Maybe I'm in denial about that. And I was also wondering, this here is a waterproof apron. And what do you use? Do you use a waterproof apron? Do you prefer the cloth apron? I think I prefer the cloth just because I envision myself putting it in the washing machine in the dryer. And this one here, I don't know. Can I put it in the dryer? Let me know in the comments. I was just having a little laugh to myself thinking about Yan Can Cook because when I was chopping up this green pepper, I remember when I was a kid, one of the commercials on TV about Yan Can Cook, he just had this big chopping knife and he took bell pepper and just like literally sliced it and diced it in no time. And I was just like, wow, like it was like watching magic. And I'm wondering, who are your cooking heroes? Who were you around when you were a kid? What inspired you? These poppy seeds are ready. They're really hot. And if you're like me, I like to keep my dishes in the cupboard, but my pots, I usually just keep them on the stove because I'm always using them, especially after I wash them. I don't dry them. I just put them back on the stove and they're dry in like no time. So I chopped up my green pepper. I also chopped up my tomato, but I just put it in this cup because I don't want to pan fry the tomatoes. I just want to toss them on fresh at the last minute. So I got a little collection here accumulating. I also have soya sauce. This is VH. It says reduced sodium, whatever. And I'm going to mix this with the poppy seeds. And I'll probably also mix that with the green peppers. See how I'm feeling. And then the other half of the rice, I'm going to mix with this balsamic vinegar. I really like when rice has a vinaigrette taste to it. Yesterday when I was out and about, I bought this apron. I also bought a new pair of oven mitts. The oven mitts that I was using, the inside was getting a little bit of wear and tear. And so when I was grabbing hot items, it was burning my thumb. So I'm wondering if you can relate. And, you know, I believe in synchronicity. And you know what? These were the only oven mitts. There were other oven mitts, but they were like they were more like decoration oven mitts. These were the only ones that were like actually gonna help out with the heat. I think the other oven mitts, they're supposed to go on top of these kind of oven mitts, just for decoration and whatnot seasonally. And my Facebook name for years was Titanium Rooster. And recently I changed that when I became a spiritual biz entrepreneur to my full name, Gina Virginia Casella. And I thought, I don't want to give up Titanium Rooster because people know me by that name. But I also want to step into the spiritual biz entrepreneurism. And I was having a conversation with some folks maybe just a few days ago, a week ago. We were talking about different names that we go by. A lot of people have different names. So my Facebook name was Titanium Rooster. My teaching name was Miss Casella, Ms. Casella. And in the last 2 years of my career, I was referring to myself as Mix Casella, MX, because MX doesn't identify your gender or marital status. And I really resonated with that. And I also, back when I first moved out, I was using the name Lady G. And there's just other names I can't think of right now in this moment. Oh yeah, Tommy Woods. That's like my beach name. And I'm wondering, what names do you have? And then I never really thought about it, but I was thinking about like the goddess Bridget and how she has different names and all this business about reincarnation. And I'm wondering like if you can relate to any of that. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And so anyways, back to synchronicity. I was feeling kind of like lost, I guess, and regaining ground again. You have to lose ground to gain ground. And so I lost a lot of ground. I'm rebuilding ground. And so yesterday when I saw these oven mitts with the rooster on it, I just thought like, yeah, like I'm always going to be me. It doesn't matter what biological the spirit embodies. And I can change my name all I want, but I'm always alchemizing, just like a fine wine. And so I thought this was very fitting of the universe to have rooster oven mitts available. And I'm wondering if you can relate. So while I have a moment, I wanted to show you the butter that I'm using. I'm not being endorsed by these folks, just sharing with you what I have. It's called Earth Balance. And I keep having to look at the name of the products because a lot of them have the word earth in it. So I don't want to mix them up. This one is Earth Balance. It's soy free. It says vegan on it. And I'm doing my best here learning about vegan ingredients. And so if I'm using something and you're like, that's not vegan, then just please kindly let me know in the comments. Also recently switched over to kosher salt for no particular reason. As a kid, I grew up with the good old table salt, iodinized salt. I never thought anything of it. And then sea salt all of a sudden was like this big thing. And so I use sea salt for like most of my life now. I also was using the pink Himalayan salt. I never heard of that before. Initially, it was something that I saw on fancy chocolates, pink Himalayan salt. And then just at the dollar store, you can buy it now. And I understand there's different grades of salt. I think it's really fascinating what the earth provides and how it provides it. We even have salt in our bodies. But anyways, there's, you know, salt from the ocean, sea salt, and then kosher salt comes from the rocks. And so I thought that was really cool. And I'm wondering, how are you playing around? I prefer the kosher salt. I find it's more tasty. And the pepper that I'm using, and I think I told you it's Aurora name brand, and I'm using JC black peppercorns. So I'm not being endorsed. If the folks want to endorse me, please do. Wondering, what do you use and what are your ways of knowing? So I'm just boiling some water. I'm going to make some corn. And when the corn's ready, I'm going to mix it up with the green peppers and pan fry it all together with soy sauce and poppy seeds, at least in this moment. That's my intention. And if you're wondering where Rosie is, she's actually napping in the bedroom. Maybe she'll make an appearance later. Yesterday, I drove to Toronto. It took me just over 2.5 hours to get there. I missed my turn, so that tacked on another 15 minutes. And, traffic was rough in the downtown core. It was just rough in general. And when we came home, I found we didn't get home till midnight-ish. And even in the core downtown area, and for like a good hour after that, it was still pretty intense traffic, and that was a Wednesday. So I don't think I want to be there on a Friday, Saturday. And I'm wondering if you can relate. If I can, I like to go to places early, or if I go to the big city, I like to spend the night, or I like to make a day out of it. I like to be there like hours in advance and grab dinner. And wondering about you. I'm on the tired side today because of that. And yesterday, really enjoyed those lentil patties that I made with the burgers. It turns out my microphone cut out. And even though my microphone, the battery died, I'm surprised that my phone didn't still record me. But I guess when it's paired, it's the relationship is strong. I didn't want to end it. So actually have a lot of views on that one. And I was going to take it down because there's no sound. But I thought, you know what? Like sometimes people like listening to their music and whatnot, or podcasts, and they just like watching the show simultaneously. So I'm wondering if folks are intentionally watching me on mute. Let me know about you. I know sometimes I like to listen to podcasts and whatnot, or I'll just put something on YouTube and I'll suntan, I'll sit outside and I'll listen to it in the background. So I'm wondering if you do that with me. What are you doing with cooking with Gina? And I'm also wondering if anybody's tried any of my recipes, and if you've transformed them to make them your own, kind of substitutes you might be using. I'm open. I just heard that my rice clicked, so that means it's ready, and I'll get it. All right, so I'm going to bring you closer. My rice is ready. I'm going to add butter to it. How much butter? I like to add a good tablespoon or so. I just kind of feel it. Like I mentioned earlier, this vegan butter doesn't melt or spread like regular or non-vegan butter, I should say, but it does do a good job. So I think I actually want to add more butter to it. I'm just going to get another spoon to do that. And I like my butter salted. I mean, my rice salted as well, but I'm just going to be adding the raw salt to the final product, if you will. So I just like to go deep and bring it up. And traditionally, I was using a fork when I did this kind of stuff. Just that was the way of knowing, I guess, that I saw on TV. But I'm really big on spoons. I like to eat with spoons. And I'm wondering about you. How do you enjoy cuisine? And I don't want to spend too much time touching this, because the more you play with rice, it'll just turn into a mush. So just set it and forget it. My water is boiling, so I'm going to add the corn. Okay, so how much corn am I adding? I don't know, this much. I love corn. Part of me wants to add even more, but I already got a lot of green pepper that I'm using. So I know a lot of folks are experienced in the kitchen who are watching this. You're just watching this because it brings you joy and you're relating. But if you don't have experience in the kitchen, even though my water was at a full boil, adding the corn, it's like adding a bunch of ice cubes to the water. So I'm keeping it on maximum, and then once it gets to that full boil again, then I'll reduce my heat. These snap peas, in a different episode, actually I don't know if I made an episode of it or not. I've been doing a lot of cooking lately, and then I decided I'm going to start recording myself. But I made patties from the red lentils, orange lentils, but now I've also made it with the green snap peas as well. I prefer making patties with the lentils, is what I learned. If I wanted to, I could boil this more and kind of mush it and add the Aunt Jemima pancake mix to it and be creative that way. If I wanted to do the same with the corn, adding Aunt Jemima pancake mix, I can do that as well. I can transform it into like muffins, if you will. But then I would be getting into baking, and I just want to keep things simple with cooking. I can tell by the way these feel that they're getting there. They're almost ready. So I'm just going to divide my rice up into two. Okay, so I'm working with a small space. I wonder if you can relate. I was starting to feel overwhelmed, so my big pot, I just put it in the cupboard, and I switched elements here. So I got the snap peas there now, and I'm going to start frying my rice. The corn, it's boiling, so I'm going to reduce it. I find this oven to be on the hot side. So how do I do this? Well, I love butter, so I'm going to add more butter. If I wanted to, I could add olive oil. I could add sesame seed oil. There's all kinds of things that I could do. I just want to keep it simple with butter. So how much am I going to add? That much. If I want to add more, I could. So in just a moment, I'm going to add the green peppers, and I'm going to add the rice last. The green peppers, I intentionally want them to stay on the crunchy side, so I'm just kind of like, I'm cooking them, but not like thoroughly cooking them, if you get my drift. And I like to cook with stainless steel, wooden spoons. I had a beautiful cast iron set when I was back in BC. Heavy, you know, so I just feel like these dishes are really light in comparison. The corn is done, so I'm just going to strain that. And I'm just going to put it on pause. Okay, so my butter, it's sizzling away. I'm going to add my green pepper. And it's just such a beautiful color. And already it's starting to smell really, really good. The rice is cooked, the corn is cooked, so I don't have to worry about those. I'll just add them last. Poppy seeds are cooked. Oh, and something important too is, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I removed this rice thing right out of the rice cooker. I unplugged it, and it's like off to the side now. So this magic is just unfolding here, simultaneously taking care of my green snap peas. And I didn't add any butter to this yet, but I will when it's officially done. And I was just having a little laugh to myself because clearly I'm on the tire side because, you know, I've got a lot of green going on here. Oh, there's Rosie. She's acting like she drove to Toronto and back last night. But like, I meant to use the yellow split peas, but whatever. Dinner is not ruined. It's still going to be tasty. And I'm excited, and I'm really excited about these green peppers. So half of my rice, I'm just going to put in this bowl. And the other half is going to go in the frying pan. And I already put butter on it. So the salt and pepper I'm not going to add because we can just add that to our plates. But what I will do is add some balsamic vinegar. It's a nice way to cheat the system. And how much am I adding? I don't know that much. It's just kind of like a salad. You add as much dressing as you want to accommodate the flavor you're after. Yeah, I've done this before, so I have an eye for it, if you will. And this isn't going to be a cold salad. It's going to be served hot. And it's hard not eating some of it right now. So in the kitchen, everything kind of seems to happen and be ready all at the same time. So I'm just going to give my snap peas a stir. They're coming along nicely. I'm not used to eating them. I want to make a soup out of them. I've never done that before. But for today, they're just going to be a nice little side dish. My green peppers are ready. Really, I could have turned the heat up a little bit more, but like I said, I'm getting used to this oven. And I find it's always like too high. Okay, so this I'm going to just move out of the way for a moment. I don't know where to put it. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. So, it smells really good, the green pepper. So the green pepper, it's seasoning the butter. And what I do is I just spread the green pepper like that. I'm going to take my corn, also spread it. Part of me wants to add taco seasoning to this. Just even have it like this as a side dish is always nice. And I just want to give the corn a minute to fry, not really. So while that is happening, I'm going to bring your attention back here to this rice. This is the rice that's going to get the poppies. So I'm just going to like kind of scooch it to the side. Kind of like when you're planting seeds in soil. And then I'm just going to dump them in there. So here they are, dumping them in. It smells phenomenal. So, you know, the poppy seeds, you can add more, you can add less. I like adding cashews, not today, just because the granola bar factor here. But when I do add cashews, usually I put the I'll toast the cashews, then I'll put them on the plate, and then I'll put the hot rice on top. That seems to soften them. So this is a very nice texture here. And again, I'm not going to salt and pepper it because we can do that to our own dishes. So this is going to be like one rice, if you will. Okay, and then my other rice is going to be this here. So what I like to do just to help mix it all up. Oh, there we go. I'm still getting used to having the camera here in the kitchen. Okay, so I need like a cameraman or something, you know. So I'm going to just spread this out. And then I'm going to start dumping my rice right on top. So I'm just spreading it. The nice thing is everything is cooked. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And when it comes to rice, I don't have the strength or the skill to do like the chefs, like and whip it up in the air to flop it over and whatnot. So I like to do this just to kind of get one side nice and soaking up all the flavor from the butter and the green pepper that I put in there. And I was just thinking about my comments earlier about seasonal cycles and wearing inside shoes. And I'm wondering, at some point in the fall, I'll get a pair of slippers, but they're slippers that they're kind of like a shoe slipper because the bottom will keep my foot warm. Otherwise, I'll get a pair of sandals like this because I can wear socks. So I might just hang on to these and not get a pair of slippers because these seem to be doing the trick. And I'm wondering about you. So I'm going to add soy sauce to this, which is right here. And this is V8 soy sauce. It is reduced sodium. I don't buy reduced sodium. This was just in the fridge with the person I'm living with. I tend to have a heavy hand for sauces and creams. How about you? So when I'm mixing it, I'm just kind of folding it in. Whoops. And I'm really excited about this. Smells so good. Can you smell it? Maybe I added a little bit too much soy sauce, whatever. Sometimes I forget I'm cooking for somebody else. And there's these chunks of rice. That's the white rice that I was using. It does that. It might just be the name brand. But I noticed the last little bit there cooking with it, it does that. So you can see it's starting to like cook on the bottom here. So I'm just going to turn it off and basically remove it from the heat. And just leave it alone. I'm going to put it into a nice little pile here. And something to be mindful of is don't just leave it like this because then your handle gets hot, right? And you also have to be careful that you don't leave it like this because you could walk by and really hurt yourself. All these things you might not think about. And I'm just going to check my lentils. And they're almost ready. They're almost ready. So I'm going to take my granola. All that hard work I did to press it, I'm actually going to break it up now. So when I break up my granola bar, I intentionally want it to be in big sloppy pieces. So there it is. And the way I'm going to do it, the lentils are almost done. But how I'm going to serve this is I'm going to take my my bar. Just want a little bit more dried fruit in there. And then I'm going to take this stuff and just plop it right on top. And I'm hungry. I didn't have breakfast yesterday. I treated myself to onion rings. I got a fry. I had root beer. And it was good. It was really good. Mm. Really good. And I love how the poppy seeds really add a nice texture to that. I'm going to just put salt and pepper on the whole entire thing when it's done. This is ready. Oh, it's heavy. And I'm just going to get a fork to help me manage this. Not a fork, a spoon. So instead of having seconds tonight, I'm just making myself a big plate. Really, really good. I'm just gonna take care of my lunch or my snap peas here. So with my snap peas, I'm adding butter to it. I haven't done that yet. I'm just gonna add a good tablespoon of it or so. And I think they're perfect right now. Or if I cook them anymore, they're gonna start getting mushy. If I was making a soup or something, I could do that. I'm gonna put the lentils just like this. I love rice, but the thing is, I keep saying lentils, but the snap peas are important because you can't just have rice. I mean, rice will fill you up, but you need proteins and stuff like that too. And then I've got my relish from yesterday. I've got some tomatoes. Put that on there. Sneak one. And then my pickle relish. Running out of spoons here. So it all comes together quite nicely. I'm going to put salt and pepper on the whole thing. And the more I use this, obviously the more empty it becomes. So I'm telling you, when I first got the kosher salt, it was like a struggle to get any salt out of there. And then I was putting it in my hand to make sure that I wasn't over salting things. And now it's getting to a point, salt shakers, they last for a long time, right? And I remember the last one that I had with the sea salt, I just would turn it upside down and kind of jiggle it, and that was enough salt, right? So anyways, this is my dinner. It looks phenomenal, smells phenomenal. Underneath here, I've got my granola hiding. If I want to mix the whole thing up, I can. If I want to put it in a wrap or a taco, I can. Really good. I was worried I added too much soy sauce, but it's totally fine. I got just a little bit of granola in that bite. I want more. Where are you hiding, granola? It's not in that one, that's why. It's not in that one, it's in this one. So I got some of my granola and my basmati vinegar and poppy seed mixture. Really good. My lentils. Totally hot. And then a little bit of everything. Lentils, tomatoes, corn, this rice, that rice, a little bit of granola. Here's a virtual bite for you. Yum, 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 yum. Oh, it steamed the lens. Really good. Which one's my favorite? I don't know. I like them all. I'm wondering if you've ever made two different kinds of rices before for the same meal, and wondering your ways of knowing in the kitchen. Reduced sodium, soy sauce. What are your ingredients? What do they look like and sound like? Um, I didn't put any garlic powder on here or onion powder, only because I forgot, but it doesn't need any. I'm not used to cooking with onion powder. It's just kind of something I've been doing since this summer. Um, I prefer garlic powder over it. And of course, I always like to have fresh garlic, fresh onions when I can. And thank you so much for watching Cooking with Gina. I really enjoyed my time today with you. And I hope you enjoyed your time with me as well. And I'm looking forward to sharing some more everyday cooking and tips and tricks with you, especially with a focus on vegan cuisine. My name is Gina Virginia Casella, and I'd love for you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Gina Virginia Casella, and I'd love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. So take care, and we'll see you next time.